Hello everyone, I am Dinesh Kumar Gupta, faculty at Vardhman Mahavir Open University, Kota. Today we will talk about governance of a library. In this module, we are going to discuss about the concept of governance, as the concept of governance is applicable in all countries, all kind of institutions. We will also discuss about the need and goal of governance in a library, but you will see that the governance of library has always been there, but there has been a shift from governance to good governance, and that will be a point of discussion in this module. We will also discuss governance and library authority, because library authority in the form of governing board or library committee exist in most of the libraries, but how they deal with the governance issue in managing these institutions, these libraries. And in the last, we will discuss about the role of IFLA, International Federation of Library Associations and Institutions, in bringing good governance in libraries. By now, you know that what is management. You also know the scope of management, because you have read 5-6 units about the management, about management theories, about recent concepts of management like change management, total quality management, and this module is a further step forward for bringing better results for a library. If you look at the objectives of the library of this unit or module, you see that it is essential to understand the meaning of governance and its need for the libraries, to know the role of library authority in governance, to describe the practices followed in different types of libraries, and to discuss the principles of effective governance of a library. Good governance is the mantra of modern governments all around the world. All the organizations, particularly NGOs, civil societies, ICT, right to information kind of things, are significantly contributing to bringing out good governance in organizations, government and institutions, including libraries. Good governance of a library is equally important, as library is not for profit organization, and the theories of good practices are equally applicable and important for all organizations, including not for profit ones. If we look at the definitions of governance, we find different definitions from different authorities, individuals, and there has been slight different point of view in these definitions. We see that governance is process of decision making and the process by which decisions are implemented. In this definition, decision making process and implementation of decisions are the core area of governance. The other definition given by Levy defines governance as public sector governance refers to the way that the state acquires and exercises the authority to provide and manage public goods and services, including both public capacities and public accountabilities. Here, three things become important: managing goods and services in effective ways, developing capacities among employees, among managers to bringing out good results, and be accountable to the fund providers, to the patrons, to the citizens. Debroy defines governance as governance is distinct from government and is the process through which various stakeholders articulate their interests, exercise their thoughts, rights, and mediate their differences. Here it is very important to make distinguish between governance and government. You see, governance is a wider term which is applicable to all kind of government, non-governmental agencies, organizations, institutions, while government is some way of political or geographical restrictions. So governance has a long history, because in any kind of situation, maybe in the history, in the name of rulers, or while there was no political kind of interventions, still governance was there. But the emergence of government is estimated in 15th or 16th centuries, and so governance is wider concept and older one. The 10th 5-year plan of Planning Commission states that governance relates to the management of all such processes that in any society define the environment. This is very important. Environment includes everything, maybe inner environment, maybe outer pressures coming in, which permits and enables individuals to raise their capabilities levels on one hand and provide opportunities to realize their potential and enlarge the set of available choices on the other hand. So again, capabilities become important, and of course opportunities are also become important. So this is new dimension to the definition of governance. UNDP defines government differently as a system of values, policies and institutions by which a society manages its economical, political and social affairs through interaction within and among the state, civil society and private sectors. It is the way society organizes itself to make and implement decisions, achieving mutual understanding, agreement and action. So these implementation of decision has been emphasized in early definitions, but mutual interest, mutual understanding, mutual relationship, mutual agreements, mutual actions, these are new dimensions of governance, and UNDP further defines that it comprises the mechanisms and processes for citizens and group to articulate their interest, mediate their differences and exercise their legal rights and obligations. It is the rules, institutions and practices that set the limits and provide incentives for individuals, organizations and firms. So in governance, interest of everyone is supposed to be protected. If we look at the parameters of good governance, on the basis of these definitions, we can easily identify 8 parameters of good governance, like accountability to the citizens, to the stakeholders, to the patrons, transparency in the action, responsiveness to the customers, to the stakeholders, equality, meaning thereby there should be no biasness, effectiveness and efficiency in operations, legitimacy in the form of legality of documents, and participatory in nature, and of course consensus in decisions. When I started, I narrated that you have been taught, you have been well versed with the concept of management, but governance and management are different or same. It has always been a question. Certainly, management and governance are two different words, and there is some differences. There are some differences, but there is some kind of relationship as well. Governance is a concern for the basic purpose of the organization. It involves measurement of outcomes or results rather than the way in which these are achieved. Governance is about the ends, while management is about means of organizational operations. If we look at the objectives of governance in libraries, there are different reasons could be for validating governance in libraries, and very easily identifiable are objectives in mind to serve the users, because this is the purpose of every library: maintaining functioning in proper by effective services, providing services to users which needs to be user centered, and upholding objectives of equality and access through caste, creed, sex and other ways. If we describe the need for governance of library, governance is a framework set by an authority, generally referred as library committee in case of public libraries, to direct the library as an organization that identifies the process of conducting business of the authority, delegation of powers, processes and policies to achieve accountability in achieving the objectives of a library. Even National Knowledge Commission recommendations also address the issue of governance and ask for greater community involvement in governance of the libraries. Governance of library allows the library to clarify about its mission, organizational structures, goals and objectives and developments taking place in a library, and to make the necessary documentation so that stakeholders are convinced about the activities undertaken by the library for the benefit of its community. If we look at the goals of library governance, it's very easily can be understood that library governance is necessary for establishing the legal and policy framework, for clarity of mission and plans, for policy making and mobilizing resources, for effective bondage between the authority and the managers and staff, for decision making, for taking review of the achievements from time to time. If we look at the kind of situation or the body which is responsible for governance in libraries, we find the committee or board, which is primarily can be executive, can be advisory, can be self-perpetuating, can be ad hoc, can be nominated or elected, can be recommended one, can be reporting. Because the type of committee makes sense in contributing or bringing governance in the library. And it is not only the committee, but also the commitment of the people, the functionality, the cross relation of sections play a vital role in bringing out good governance. If we look at the powers and functions of library committee, these committees generally serve the following purposes. They are actively involved in developing collections of the library. They are involved in bringing new services and holding existing ones. They are involved, useful in library cooperation and partnership with the other sister libraries. They are useful in supervision and advice to the staff and managers. They also act in the accounts and auditing of library documents. They frame library rules. They allocate resources, mobilize resources and manage resources of the library. They are also involved in recruitment, development of staff and library building, library furniture, fittings, etc. For good governance, it is always there that these committees meet frequently, they have proper composition, and their decision making process is well spelled out, because these are important issues for effective functioning of a committee, as a result for effective governance in a library. We take two examples of library committees in two different institutions. First one is IIT Roorkee, and the composition consists of the members including a professor to be nominated by the director as chairman, one faculty member or representative scientist from each academic department, generally the faculty in charge of the departmental library, 3 representatives from UG, PG and research scholars to be nominated by the IIT Roorkee Students Associations and FRS respectively, and librarian as member secretary to the committee. If we look at the duties and functions of the library committee, it is to consider policy matters regarding central library, departmental library, including the policy for procurement of books and journals, and render advice to the purchase committee for the library procurements. To look into the day-to-day operations, problems of the library clientele, library staff, and send recommendations to the executive council or senate or board for desired decision. To supervise the allocation and utilization of funds for different departments for purchase of books and journals for the central and departmental libraries. To maintain liaison between central library and various academic departments for the purchase or networking of departmental libraries with the central libraries. To consider and put forward the views of faculty members regarding books, journals, selection, ordering processes, etc. To consider and put forward the views of students, research scholars regarding their problems, solutions, sought thereof. So, the library committee is effective in IIT Roorkee. We take other examples of library at Tata Institute of Social Sciences. The library is known as Library Sir Dorabaji Tata Memorial Library, Mumbai. The composition includes chairperson, who is nominated by the director, members, 1 faculty, each from schools, independent centers, and the librarian shall be the secretary of Library Advisory Committee. All officers of library shall participate in the meeting to provide required input. The terms of reference for Library Advisory Committee includes to provide general direction to the library, to review the functioning of the library with regard to its support to the academic programs of the institute, to advise the management on matters of policy relating to development of library, to outline the library collection development policy as and when required for its implementation, to monitor and evaluate from time to time trends and developments in information technologies, networking, library automation, library cooperation, etc., and to direct the library in their adoption, to suggest ways and means to generate revenues from library resources, to formulate action plan for the development of library infrastructure, facilities, products and services, to evaluate the suggestions made by the library users, to formulate the policy for library use and procedure to be framed, to assist library in providing need-based information services, to review the requirements of the new programs being introduced and advise library about financial assistance, to evaluate the books procurement school-wise and allocation of budget accordingly, to perform any other function as assigned by the director. So, these are some practices of library committees followed in Indian situations. It is not the individual library or institution, but associations at the national and international levels are also helping libraries for good governance. The IFLA, the International Federation of Library Associations and Institutions, has a program for good governance of libraries, as IFLA considers that transparency is the basis of good governance and the first step in fighting corruption. It provides a universal rationale for the provision of good records management system, archives and financial regulatory and monitoring system. It is directly linked to the practice of socially responsible authorship and journalism, the work of editors, the publishing and distribution of information through all medias. IFLA also considers that corruption undermines basic values, threatens the rule of law and undermines trust in political institutions. IFLA also considers that corruption undermines basic social values, threatens the rule of law and undermines trust in political institutions. It creates a business environment in which only the corrupt thrive. It hinders scientific work and research, weakens the functions of the professions and obstructs the emergence of knowledge society. IFLA therefore calls on all library and information professionals and all those responsible for library governance of library and information services at the national and local level to support the following programs. Librarians should counter corruption directly affecting librarianship, as in the sourcing and supply of library materials, appointment of library posts and administration of library contracts and finances. Library associations should support this through the creation or strengthening of code of professional ethics. Librarians should strive to improve professional status of all information professionals and promote better pay for professionals to reduce their susceptibility to corruption. Librarians should reassert their role in educating citizens by developing stock collection and facilitating access to information on philosophical and socio-economic political topics. Where a country has information access or freedom of information laws, librarians should seek to make the library a center where citizens can be assisted in drawing up and submitting for information requests. Where a country does not have information access or freedom of information laws, or such laws are not effective, librarians should support initiatives to draft, amend, promote and protect such laws from neglect. Training should be organized for librarians and users in the use of the type of information that will improve citizens' understanding of the laws and assist them in the pursuit of their rights and entitlements. Libraries should collect information materials issued by official bodies, particularly those that deal with the citizens' rights and entitlements. They should seek to make information that is issued by official bodies more comprehensible and accessible through tag indexes, abstracts, search supports, etc. They should also organize digitization and other preservation programs for official information relating to laws, rights and entitlements, and facilitate access to existing databases of these types of information. Libraries should be made available as venues for the promotion of information rights through posters and other publicity materials, and librarians should seek to raise awareness of the rights to information. Libraries should create or cooperate in the creation of anti-corruption portals which link content from official sources, anti-corruption NGOs and other relevant sources. Libraries should support existing and planned citizens advice centers provided by anti-corruption NGOs with information provision, technical assistance with databases and all other relevant aspects of their professional expertise. So, if we look at these new agendas of governance in libraries, we can easily understand this library need not only governance but good governance, which requires accountability, transparency, partnership for resource mobilization, use of ICT, attitudinal change is also required, and development of legal framework, which is an essential to bring governance in libraries. To conclude, the governance of the library is an important issue for achieving the objectives of the library. The governance must be clearly spelled out in rules and laws so that the decision flows appropriately and no conflict arises in functionaries. The people who are involved in governance must set examples by accountability, transparency, and qualitative decision making processes. The stakeholders of today's libraries expect strong leadership. Modern governance must reach beyond budget oversight and regular strategic planning exercise. The library board or committee must embrace new ideas, prove its basic values, and forge relationships to generate a comprehensive and efficient service that reflects its community's unique needs. Thank you very much.